Free advice, free advice. Would you like some free advice? Free advice forever.
I'm ready to go.
All right, fuck
We've
it.
been listening to ourselves
Let's go.
for an hour.
Welcome to Free Advice.
Welcome.
This is Rob Zaleski speaking.
And Morgan Beard now speaking.
Yeah. How you doing today, Morgan?
Dude, I'm good. I had a good day. I feel like the weather is improving. Sorry to all you guys on the East Coast. West Coasters have been bitching and moaning about, it hasn't even made it above 70 degrees. And everyone on the East Coast freezing their nuts off.
Important point I'd like to make. Everyone's experience is relative to their other experiences.
Absolutely.
And so what if it doesn't seem like a big deal to them? You know, if losing a nickel is a big deal to you because you only have a dime, well, that's still a big deal. You can't laugh at it just because you got $1 million. Ha ha, what if losing a nickel is no big deal? Yeah, well, okay, for someone who only has a dime, it's half of their money. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree.
That was a good analogy. Right? It was
Beautiful.
It was fine.
I like how immediately after you made it, you're like, should I tear it down?
Should I start over? Should I re-roll my person?
Here we are, questioning ourselves, as per usual. The human experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. I love modeling that for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just because we have microphones in front of us and we're wearing fancy headphones and we're talking to each other across a table and it's being recorded does not mean we don't question the quality of our content.
Yeah.
So you tell us.
That's true.
Any advice that you're looking for this week, Rob?
Do you have any good horror movie recommendations? I saw Us on Friday, and I either want to keep rewatching it or just like perhaps more effective use of my time is watch Go for Breath and see some other horror films.
I don't know if I really have any good ones.
Okay.
A lot of people have been telling me that they've seen it, and I really want to see it because all the reviews I've heard are that it's good.
It's good.
You know, my personal reviews. Not I don't like go
folks
read film criticisms anymore. That's not my life.
I do.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah. When I really like a movie, I gotta eat up what was so good about it. You know, why do I think the things that I think? Please, internet, tell me.
God forbid I trust my own opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other horror movies have I seen that I actually genuinely like? I don't know. I mean, you saw Get Out, I assume.
I saw Get Out.
Yeah. How do you feel like it stacks up as far as, Peele's work?
They're very similar. This is a bit more abstract. Mm-hmm. And it's not quite as spoon-fed to you. I feel like Get Out was very obvious about everything that it was doing. This is a little bit, it's not quite as clear what's being said.
Yeah.
So maybe meant to encourage more arguments, discussion, theories, things like that.
Yeah. Have you ever seen...
Same formula, though, essentially, of like scares and laughs.
Yeah. Percentage of black cast?
Is about the same.
Okay.
It's a smaller cast. There were a lot of people in Get Out, I think, right? Because they have a party and
Right. Yeah.
yeah, focuses. The main characters are all black, and then there's another supporting family that's white, which is like their white counterpart friends.
Okay. Just because that was just another feature of Get Out that I feel like many people would, point to as being kind of an essential like parameter of why it was important and what it was doing in terms of the spread of who was featured racially.
This is less focused on race, but still focused on privilege generally.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I heard, which I'm super excited about. In terms of the way that we're moving and an exploration of that theme feels relevant to me. Because sometimes I think we talk a lot about race and we're talking a lot about gender more. Class is still something I feel like we're kind of on the edge of really like cracking that nut. It's still a little more unspoken. Disability is like even further behind. But we're getting there. I think we're, as a society, doing a lot better with it. It's coming into the forefront and then kind of rebalancing. But have you seen Blair Witch Project?
No, I never saw that.
So that's a movie I would recommend because it's an older horror movie, but it holds up incredibly well and terrified me. I watched it for the first time like in college. And I was like on the edge of my seat. because it does a really, I don't know that much
This is the
about
first
horror.
found footage movie, right?
Oh,
Big one.
maybe. Yeah.
Where it's meant to look
yeah.
like it's all video cam recordings from somebody who wasn't trying to make a movie.
Which it totally adds to the level of just how fucking terrifying it is. And it does a really good job of kind of holding you on that edge of like, is something happening? Isn't something happening? And what's about to happen, without really like showing you too much. And it really keeps you just kind of tickled, and tickled with terror for long stretches in a really smart way. Yeah. Where a lot of horror movies that are older, it's hard to watch because the effects don't hold up. Like we're used to such better, quality kind of output at this point. Again, not conceptually, but in terms of what can be achieved with like After Effects and camera work and stuff. Another a horror movie that I really, really liked, keeping in mind I don't watch that many horror movies, but did you see Cabin in the Woods?
Yes.
That was great.
Yeah.
Very like subversive for the genre.
Right.
So I don't know if I tried to show it to people who come to me and they're like, well, I don't usually like scary movies. I'm way too scared. But because it's so kind of like breaking that fourth wall and has such an interesting element to it that's beyond what a normal horror movie does, I think I thought that would be a good one for that. If you're that kind of person, I might recommend that to you. But I don't know. I'm not sure I know enough about this and yet here I am talking about it.
I appreciate it.
What kind of horror movies do you gravitate towards?
Psychological, artsier ones.
Yeah.
That's about the best I could do. I haven't seen some of the classics. Like I still haven't seen The Shining, so I should just go back and watch those movies. Problem is for me, I think my ADD adapted mind gets bored in older movies that just have long takes. That the shots are often less dynamic. The camera doesn't cut as quickly, and I'm used to like cut.
Having heard what you just said, I would not recommend that you just go back and watch The Shining.
That's kind of my resistance to it. When I've tried to watch classic movies, I'm like, oh my God, when are they going to move the camera? Please. Did the cameraman take a nap? Is everyone seeing this right now?
Yeah. That's and the thing about The Shining too is I think all of the things that were sort of extremely significant or scary or new at the time, like about them for the most part already. Like there is still great imagery, and it's fun to see like, oh yeah, there's that classic thing that now I only see as a meme of Jack Nicholson like shoving his head through the door. Yeah. Here's Johnny. Like it's fun to see those things actually
in context.
Elapse.
Why it became so big. Yeah. I miss discussing art with friends. Seeing something that excites me and makes me want to learn more, research it. And I had that experience Friday night. I had my two friends that I saw the movie with come back, and we spent like an hour just discussing. And I want to make that a more regular part of my life.
And we're so fortunate living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because we have so much art at our disposal. And one of the things that I love about Los Angeles too is just how much public art there is. When you walk around, there are just all these like, like in my neighborhood, for example, there are all these like, I don't know if they're mailboxes or some kind of electrical boxes that are just like painted in these like beautiful, fanciful ways. And they're just there. It's just a part of the fabric of the community. Yeah. I think that's just the tip.
Those wordsmith street art stencils, or are you talking about those? Like,
I have no idea what that is.
Ones that say, your life is under construction, expect delays, or...
I don't know. I love that, but no, it's not what I was referring to.
It's like a typewriter. Those are all around me. Yeah. Or the sidewalk art of people looking at their phones. You seen
cool.
Those too?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Yeah, I guess I need to get out more too.
Have you ever tagged? Have you ever spray painted?
I have not.
Oh, really?
I'm fascinated by graffiti art and the evolution of that culture. There's been some great documentaries about it that have really piqued my interest, because it's street art to me is such a fascinating
like Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Yeah, like Exit Through the Gift Shop. And there was one I watched more recently than that that was it talked more about sort of like historically tagging and how did that scene come about. And I'm always interested in the psychology of it, like a population that is sort of just craving to be seen and to be known, that starts going around just like repetitively writing their name on stuff, just to be like, to have a name that people recognize. I just think that's so fascinating and so cool. Because it's like literally going to the streets and being like, I'm going to get seen. I'm going to make a reputation for myself. I'm just going to write my name on shit. And there's an edginess to it. There's an artistic element.
It's kind of like the essential version of what people are doing when they have highly successful careers and buy big flashy cars and clothing that makes them stand out and a Rolex and all of those things. It's like, just write your name on the building, dude. Just make it Trump Tower. Well, it's street artist president.
Yeah, and the other layer of it too is like they're still anonymous within that. Like they're writing their name, but it's just a moniker. Is that the right word for it? It's just a name. It's not like their first name.
Okay, it's not their government name.
No,
that could get them arrested.
Right, exactly. It's just something that is becomes their reputation, and if their identity was actually connected to that, it could be detrimental. But yeah, it becomes this whole different type of pride point, because no one really knows it's you. You walk around the city and there's that anonymity to it, and you're like, yep, I'm Ghost Flab or whatever. I don't know. I just made up a tag.
Flabbiest ghost around. Whole bunch of extra ectoplasm. Blub, blub, blub.
Taking spookiness to all new heights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm more lazy than I am spooky, but I'm pretty spooky, so I'm really lazy.
It's a positive correlation.
Yeah.
Between spookiness and laziness.
Okay, maybe we should do a street art campaign advertising for free advice.
Absolutely.
Would that get us in trouble?
Well,
I don't want to get in trouble. Of my fear is getting in trouble's up there.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of trouble?
Oh, I hate getting in trouble.
Oh,
I got sent to the principal's once.
Oh, man.
That was such a sad day. He was just disappointed.
Oh, isn't that the worst? When they're not yelling at you.
It's like, I expected more from you. Oh. You're one of the leaders. You're one of the ones that I thought I could count on.
Oh, that's like a knife to the heart.
I know. I'm going to tell the anecdote really quick.
Tell it at whatever pace you want.
I was playing with this mechanical pencil in the back of Dr. Moulton's AP Psychology class. And I noticed when the eraser was removed, you could like push down on the eraser holder and it would shoot out the lead.
Wow.
So I acted like I was jerking it off. And then I pushed down the eraser and it shot out a piece of lead. And my friend Alex saw this and laughed really hard, like in the middle of while she was talking.
Oh, no.
She was probably reviewing something that I already
knew. You were exploring science on the ground floor.
I was self-stimulating. I was just amusing myself. And because it caused a big reaction in somebody else, we both got sent. It was a bummer.
Yeah.
I don't even think he asked us for the details.
He had all the info.
I wish I could have told him the story because it would be so dumb. But now I'll send him this episode.
Forgive me.
Email my old headmaster.
The disappointment. What was the mechanism by which?
I assume a spring.
So what I was going to ask was, what was the mechanism by which your parents punished you? Was it
nothing.
I'm so disappointed.
I don't think that they heard.
I meant like in general. In general, as a tactic.
I got spanked once when I was 3. Mm-hmm. That was it. Do
you know of that, or do you actually remember?
I remember
that
it.
Oh.
I have pictures in my head surrounding it.
Yeah.
And I remember the 2 weeks leading up to that, people had been telling me my whole life that I was so good, and I started telling them I'm bad, and I was doing like playful bad things, and they all laughed. Exactly.
Like what? What were the playful bad things?
Oh, I don't know, like kicking a ball in the yard. Just
oh yeah. Ooh, smooth criminal.
I didn't know how to be bad. I think that was the joke. Yeah, this way a little bit if you turn yourself down.
Okay.
And I remember being mad at my mom once and just hitting the ground and saying hate and shut up because those were the two worst words that I knew.
Just out of context.
Shut up. Hate. Shut up.
It's like you're starting a rap. Like you're walking towards them, you're snapping your fingers. Yeah. Hey, shut up. Here we go.
Exactly.
I just picture you with little Wayfarers and a little cigar.
Yeah.
No, cigarette. Kids don't smoke cigars.
I bet the Boss Baby did in one of the early drawings. I haven't seen Boss Baby, and I'm sure he doesn't smoke because they probably really walked a tight wire with that movie of like all the things that they wanted him to do. Mm-hmm. Then they were like, no, but this isn't. We don't want to show kids smoking. Anyway.
So one of my favorite films of all time addresses this head on and pretty early for its time. Mrs. Doubtfire, and it might be like it's one of the earliest scenes where Robin Williams is voicing this bird. It's a cartoon that he's voicing. Do you know Mrs. Doubtfire at all?
I've seen it.
Okay. So then this is not the most memorable scene at all, but I've seen it so many times they're all memorable to me. And he's doing the voice for this bird. Yeah. And there's like a cat or something next to him that's smoking a cigar. And he starts going off script about like how the cigar is like killing his lungs and like I'm dying. And they get really mad at him. And anyway, not very funny, but you know, I just love any chance I can bring up Mrs. Doubtfire. I will. You can guarantee that I will. It's such a great movie.
Okay.
I believe you.
I'm not gonna rewatch that. I imagine the takes are super long.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would challenge you to rewatch it. It's not horror, unless you find cross-dressing horrific.
I'm probably not gonna rewatch this.
Okay.
And I don't find it horrific.
Cool.
By the way.
Phew.
Yeah.
Crisis averted.
Yeah, I'm pretty woke. I stay ahead. You know how like people will want to buy a laptop with extra processing power so that it's future-proofed?
No.
Okay, well, if you're in the market for like a new laptop or a new phone, the salesman or just articles you're reading online might tell you like, oh, well, might as well invest in the extra RAM right now so that it's future-proof. Like it's not necessary for the software you're running on it, but wait until the new iOS upgrade in 2 years and you're going to want that because the new technology is coming. Well, I do that with my opinions. But the beliefs that I hold are future-proof, where I feel like if I didn't make any progress for the next 5 years, I'd still be okay.
Wow. Okay, well, let's see what happens in 5 years. I'd be about average. I
think I'm about 5 years ahead. You have to anticipate backlashes and then be ahead of those too.
Okay. Do you think that there's a particular arena where you think it's really going to evolve suddenly and you're going to be like, yep, now I'm squarely where I should be on it? Based on how futuristic my opinion is. We've discussed this before. I think that mental health in determining criminal acts, I think that there will be a lot more exceptions for things like insane defenses and circumstances of a person's environment will also cause us to be more forgiving for actions rather than just looking at the action in a bubble and saying, yeah, that's bad because this person did this thing. We'll start to ask why they did it more. Okay.
So, forgive more in general. Yeah. There'll just be more forgiveness.
All right. What you should do is you should write down all the things like this with a date, time capsule kind of thing, and, you know, decide 5 years from now you're going to take it out and you're going to be like, oh my God, there really were flying cars. Or, you know, wow, the criminal justice system is really evolved.
Yeah.
Those two things primarily.
Yeah. Well, I could do that, but I got to do my taxes. And there's just things I have to do today that I feel like
preclude.
It's going to always be low on the priority list and never happen.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're honest with yourself, I think that's key. That's so key.
Otherwise, you're disappointing yourself constantly because you have all these ideas. Oh, you know what would be great to do? I'm going to do it. And then you remember, like, I have to cook my food. I have to do my laundry. Yes. There's shit that if I don't do that today, then it's going to be late. So the time capsule can wait.
I feel like I'm always cycling on to-do list things and focusing on perhaps too much the things that I haven't done yet versus the things that I never revisit the things that I did do and celebrate that I've done them. It's always, well, what do I have to do next? Well, what do I have to do next? And the bar just keeps going up, 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 up. The goalpost keeps going out, 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 out. And then it creates this internal sense of I'm never where I'm going. I'm always, you know, behind. And I feel like that's something that in our like hyper overproductive society is becoming a problem. Like people forget that their benchmarks are changing, and they forget to be like, oh, I really did accomplish a lot. There aren't enough built-in opportunities to revisit your successes.
What's a good holiday to pat yourself on the back?
A lot of people do it on New Year's because it's like, oh, this time
I feel like
last
that's
year.
Looking ahead. You mean New Year's Eve, maybe?
Sure.
Different holidays.
Sure. Well, I think birthdays and New Year's. I just think in general are holidays where people do revisit their goals. Yes, they set new ones, but there is some sense of reflection.
You're like, I'm talking about just congratulating yourself for your accomplishments.
Maybe Thanksgiving. That's gratitude based. I mean, that's good. That's headed in the right direction.
I feel like that's got to be directed outwards. Imagine if you saying grace and you're just thankful for all the things that you've done. I'm so thankful I finally got the filter in the pool changed. Look at how clear that water is. Donna, you see that water? Did you enjoy swimming this summer? Yeah, you did. Well, I did that this spring. I'm thankful for that.
I mean, who's to say it couldn't be that way? We could live in that world.
Yeah, I don't really want to.
Okay, then don't.
What's an opposite of Thanksgiving holiday? The Festivus is that, right? That's where you air your grievances with people, isn't it?
Yes, that's one of the elements of Festivus. There's a poll.
I feel like that's enough.
Yeah, the
Why is there
airing of
more?
grievances. Yeah, I'm a huge Seinfeld fan, so I used to know, much more than I do now. When I was living in New York, a fabulous little group of Seinfeldites, that's not what we call ourselves, and I did Seinfeld-specific trivia nights, and we would study, because they would ask such specific questions. It'd be like, what is George's apartment number? And you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I am kind of kicking myself for not knowing more of the facets of celebrating Festivus. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly supposed to be the anti-Christmas. So I was thinking Thanksgiving, thinking about it more literally, of like taking something maybe than giving thanks. You're taking praise. You just accept praise from people. You just hold out your hands and fish for compliments.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'd like to do some year where I properly celebrate all the big holidays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
2020? Because you can't start now unless you have been.
No, I haven't been doing it this year.
Yeah. Well, and then where do you draw the line of which holidays you don't? Because nowadays it's like, today is National Strawberry Ice Donut Day, and, that shit.
I might look to the government.
Okay.
The federal holidays. Only.
Yeah.
And then I could pick and choose one or two more that I feel are important. But
yeah. What about, what are you going to do for something that's as contentious as Columbus Day? Are you going to celebrate it as Indigenous Peoples Day, or are you going to celebrate it as Columbus Day?
I would probably celebrate revisions to history. I would look at that conceptually.
Okay.
Like how we change stories. And so I would look at something that I used to believe about myself that I no longer do. Mm-hmm. Or redefining a chapter of my life that I used to see in a negative light that then I've spun to, here's how that helped me grow.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. What are your most and least favorite holidays?
Most, I really like Halloween.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Least, Valentine's Day or my birthday. The expectations from other people are just like, oh, this is an assignment, not a holiday.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this diatribe that I go on all the time about how, like, birthday and Valentine's Day in particular, it's like, if you love me and you want to celebrate that I've been born, respectively, Valentine's Day and my birthday, you have 365 days a year to do that. Don't just do it out of obligation because everyone's doing it and everyone's like, posting shit on Instagram or Facebook about it. It's like, love me in small ways throughout the year. Don't do some like grand gesture that is for show on a specific day. And like, I don't think anyone is safe from how shitty Valentine's Day is. Because it's like, if you're with someone, then it's like this prove your love to me thing.
Right.
And if you're not with someone, then it's Global Inadequacy Day.
Valentine's Day probably ends a good number of relationships that would have dragged on, though. So is
I
there
don't
some
want to
value?
think about what I would have to do for them for Valentine's Day, so I'll just end it on January 25th.
Well, it's it's kind of like a checkpoint that you have to check in then, and without that, some of those people without that yearly obligation. Otherwise, it would be like the holidays. You know, are you going to meet their parents? Are you going to visit that family or yours? Like, how do you negotiate those things and make those sacrifices or not? But Valentine's Day really is one that I think forces people to be honest, a little more honest with each other about how they feel.
Well, now that you say it, I mean, thinking about the time of year that it is, it's like you have Thanksgiving, then you have Christmas, then you have New Year's, then you have Valentine's Day. It's like there is no break to be like, oh my God, I like want to step out of this relationship. You have to prove yourself Thanksgiving. You have to decide what you're doing for Christmas, and you get them a gift. Do you not? It's just like gesture after gesture, right in a row there. That's a real slammer.
Okay, so if you want to like make the most efficient relationship timeline, start dating on Valentine's Day, because then anything you do is not expected and it's just sweet. You could pick up a rock and be like, I got you this rock, or pick a dandelion.
So that's the like, I'd like to date you.
You want to meet them on Valentine's Day. There's a lot of people out there and receptive. They're feeling single and lonely, and this is okay. So you start dating on Valentine's Day.
You pray that their birthday isn't in March.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know the astrology to make this joke, but I'm sure you do.
I do, because my partner's birthday is March 4th.
Okay.
He's a Pisces.
Why don't you make the joke?
What joke would you like me to make?
No Pisces. Just say no Pisces. It's not a hard joke. No Pisces allowed. That's in your profile that you open up only on February 14th. And then you celebrate Easter together.
Yeah.
Which
No, you don't.
Sure you do. You go to an egg hunt with kids and you officiate. You're like a chaperone for the egg hunt.
And then you get to talk about, do we want kids? It's like, we've been dating for a month. Although actually, I think at a certain age, which I think we are both at, it is important to know if someone wants kids. Versus like, you know, if you're like casually dating someone in your early 20s and it's, you know, not something you're quite thinking about yet. People make jokes about it coming off as very like, clingy, desperate, scary.
Right.
Scary stuff. Which, for the record, I don't believe that I want kids. Yeah. And I do think that most people don't feel that way. And so I guess I felt a little pressure or overburdened.
Like you have to tell them.
Exactly. Yeah. And find someone who is at the very least open to that, if not already wanting that reality.
Have you considered a tattoo right above your vagina?
No.
No,
but keep going.
It could say entrance only.
I have thought about a
exit.
tattoo above my asshole that says exit only.
Yeah. You can get matching front and back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One way. They're both one way. No, that's not really true. Because things come out of your vagina.
Like what? Period.
Period stuff.
Period.
Period stuff. Period stuff.
No solid objects allowed to exit. Now we're getting kind of long.
Tampon in and out.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's getting real wordy. This should be really succinct. Punchy. And above the vagina tattoo needs to be punchy.
No births. This is a birth-free zone.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. I'll write it on in pen first, just to make sure I like it before we really, you know.
Pick a nice solid Sharpie and trace it every week for a couple months and see if you want it.
I did that once with...
For a potential tattoo?
Potential tattoo,
oh, cool.
Yes. I was thinking about getting an infinity sign tattooed on the inside of my wrist, which I later found out is not a unique concept. Was
that necessary? Did it need to be for you to want it?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was in a math. I was like in. I now don't even know what kind of math you use the infinity sign in. Calculus. I don't know. It was in high school, and I saw the infinity sign, and I really liked the beauty of it aesthetically, and then sort of the symbolism of it, of just this sort of perpetuating, undulating, circular kind of it's a line that just never ends, essentially. But it's really just a flipped over 8. Surprise, spoiler. And I wrote it on the inside of my wrist, and I was like, ooh, that would be a cool tattoo. And then that night, I almost got into a car accident with like 3 friends in the car. I hit black ice on a turn and completely lost control of the wheel. Like couldn't steer and was like dramatically veering like left and right. And it was on like a small sort of like back road with like, luckily there were like cornfields on either side. But I was alternating between basically going into oncoming traffic and, you know, going into the cornfield. And apparently there was a tree or like a rock that I didn't even see because it was at night. It was fucking terrifying. And in those situations, like time is really slow, but also you can't quite you don't have like quite the presence of understanding, at least like I didn't, every single dimension of what's happening to you. And eventually I realized like, okay, it's preferable for me to be driving into the cornfield than into oncoming traffic. So we start driving into the cornfield and I think, why are we not slowing down? Like the ground was covered in snow. So I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe I'm just sliding. And then I realized I had never moved my foot from this accelerator to the brake. So I was just driving, accelerating, speeding into the cornfield. And then I finally, you know, slowed down and stopped. And we all kind of collected ourselves, but it was fucking terrifying. And so that connected with the idea of like the infinity sign and continuing on, persisting, felt really symbolic to me. And then like a couple of months later, I was like, wow, everyone has this tattoo. No, thank you. But I'm sure everyone who has it is doing great stuff and it's significant to them. I love hearing stories about people's tattoos. But I don't know. I think my personal philosophy is that I haven't found one yet that's meaningful enough that I will want it for a long time. And sort of a piece of art that I want, you know, really to embody. I don't know. How do you feel about tattoos?
Not that interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that I thought was cool at one point. You know, I used to get Pokemon folders in 4th grade. And then in 5th grade, I was like, no, just 5-star is what I want now. You know, that
right.
generic professional looking stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of learned my lesson that don't buy folders that are decorated for something that I think is cool at the time if I want to use them long term. And my body I want to use long term. So anything that I think is cool. Maybe if there's like a functional tattoo.
Yeah.
You know, I can't think of one, but maybe just getting an inch on my finger. Excuse me, on my finger.
What do you mean an inch?
Like a line.
That's an inch
That's
long.
an inch. Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
And a centimeter.
As a measuring tool.
Yeah. So that I can just hold it
Does
up to
anybody have
things
a
on my
ruler?
pinky.
I do.
I have a pinky. Yeah.
Okay.
Or would I make it my index finger?
Wow. Ooh. And you can use it to measure your dick. Congrats.
Yeah.
Solving an age-old problem.
Yeah.
And you could, well, if you were gay, it would be very useful because you'd be like, I'll measure your dick and just, you know.
And then grab it.
Yeah.
You could do a girth around the inseam of your thumb and forefinger.
Wow.
And then however much overlap there is.
So for everyone out there who's gay and is like, wow, this is an amazing idea, just be sure to give us credit because, you know, we know that you're going to want to do this.
That's true.
So what would the equivalent of that be for lesbians?
Does anyone really brag about how deep their vagina is or how shallow it is? That's not really an important metric, is it?
Well, tightness is.
Yeah, but how do you measure that with your fingers? Then no, it's just
I don't know. I mean,
fingers,
again,
it's like how many fingers can you fit?
Mm-hmm. So it's, I mean, again, and I don't think that this is something that's actually, you know, good or bad, but people tend, you know, men, whatever, often are like, oh, it's so tight, or like, like you it's like, how much dick can you take? Mm-hmm. The dick takeometer.
Yeah.
Those are the two vaginal size metrics that I've heard referred to in the context of sex.
Depth and
desire.
tightness.
Right, but like not quite depth. it's sort of this it's almost
I'm
this
not
like
so
version.
long that it's an issue for me, but I do know that guys with really long dicks, I've heard other guys be like, you don't actually want that. It's a mistake to wish for that because you can never get it all the way in. You can only get a little bit of it in, and that sucks.
But what I was going to point to is like,
Yeah.
it's sort of like the virgin whore dichotomy thing where it's like, you want a girl to be both like, oh, I've never even had sex, and be like, but act like, or be able to perform in a way that indicates that you've had a lot of sex. And it's like, okay, so you want your vagina to be like very tight, and oh, it's so little and tight, and like by comparison, your dick is so big. But then it's like you also want the entire dick to just be like, go right in and just like, that seems, again, crazy.
Yeah. Nobody can be everything.
You can't be everything.
Right.
Know what you're good at and celebrate it, and don't focus too much on things that you perceive as flaws. And you know what also is great? Find someone who really appreciates every element of you and, is just as attracted to your flaws. I think that's a fucking cool thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe some of your flaws
are just flaws.
Yeah. I'm saying like somebody to be right for you, somebody doesn't have to love all of your flaws. They can be annoyed by some of them. They can be annoyed by some of your strengths too. And a lot of strengths are flaws in different conditions,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm looking ahead to the segment.
Oh, okay.
With a capital
yeah, what
T
do we
and
got?
a capital S.
Who's asking for
where we give
advice today, and what do they want?
Yeah, so I pulled a couple, and I'm trying to think about, what's going to be either a conversation that's naturally segues from whatever we were just talking about, how could you even condense that down into anything, versus something that will be a total abrupt right turn that will be different, or, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think you want to hear something that's a little bit more a la what we've been talking about? Not the Islamic God Allah, but a la, what we've been
Are you asking me if I want to hear about the Islamic God?
All right, I'll read you 2 subject lines, and you tell me which one you'd rather hear.
Okay.
Actually, both of them are totally kind of non sequiturs, I've decided. What to do when someone offers to be a sugar daddy, or going on a trip with a heavy, heavy snorer?
Sugar daddy.
Okay. Sorry if you needed advice about snoring, because we are talking about sugar daddies.
Get a breathe right
now.
Earplugs. Bam, done. Next question.
All right, cool. Ankelbiter, Ankel, surprise spelling there.
Oh, okay.
Asked what to do when someone offers to be a sugar daddy. Now, don't laugh too hard, because it's tagged as serious. Okay. So, I'm 20, male, and I have a friend who's in high school stuff from when I was in the band. Wow, that makes no sense. Okay, 20-year-old man who has a friend who's in high school. She's 17, female, and she got messages from this guy through Instagram offering to be a sugar daddy. He says he's not looking for sex, just attention, and wants to give her an allowance of $400 a week. She has a bank account with her mom since she's been underage. Historically.
For how long?
17 years.
Okay. Before that, she was good.
Well, when she was a baby, it was appropriate to have a sugar daddy. And that probably wouldn't be the best place for those deposits, but let's ignore that issue for now. The guy says he doesn't want to use Venmo or PayPal because he found them to be problematic and lost money through them, which sounds like it could be a red flag. So this is where we're starting to point out red flags, not at the beginning part. Okay. Does anybody have suggestions on how she could do this safely to protect herself from the probably scam it is, but also see if she gets some free money? Well, again, that's not really definitionally accurate. Just for texting some lonely guy that'll find someone else to give money to if she declines. Yeah. So I think this person is asking, to distill it down, how can she protect herself and assess that whether or not it's a scam in that process? should she take this offer?
I'd proceed with caution.
Yes, I think that is overall the tone that we're going for here. To me,
it's not an absolutely no.
It's not an absolutely no. I'm a little like, because she's 17.
Yeah.
That has legal.
How old's the guy?
Does not say. She got messages from this guy through Instagram offering to be a sugar daddy. So, again, it says he's not looking for sex, but presumably there's going to be like a sexual dynamic to it, which has a potentially illegal component to it, depending on the age gap and the state that they're in.
Right.
But if it's just platonic companionship, I think legally that's okay, I guess. But I think there's also the financial scam component of it, of how do we actually take the payment?
Cash. Why not cash?
Well,
are they not meeting up in person?
Yeah, they're just it's a digital. I think it's a digital relationship because he messaged her on Instagram.
Okay.
So I think it would be a completely remote kind of operation.
Like they FaceTime or send each other pictures and things. What's to stop her from outsourcing this to an assistant who she pays an allowance of $100 a week?
So there you go. So that's a potential solution, I think. Having a sort of dummy person in the middle.
You, as the guy friend, can be the guy who gets paid $100 a month to text this dude, give him attention, as a hot girl.
And then she still gets the bulk of the money. Is this a prostitution and what's that thing?
Yeah, we're trying to subvert the pimp trope.
The
of
pimp
a pimp
trope,
being
right.
a man pimping out a woman. And here, this is gaining power back to the person who's initially most attractive, right?
I suppose.
I don't know if this is a good idea yet. I'm spitballing here with you.
Absolutely.
The guy who's asking the question should stay involved in the situation.
I wonder if she has actually asked him for advice and he's doing this, or he's just concerned. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, has she decided whether or not she's doing this and he's just stepping in as sort of an overprotective male? Well, he's not overprotective, clearly, because this is a sort of a dicey situation.
Okay. I have some actionable advice.
Please.
Your 17-year-old friend should write out a list of things that she is not comfortable with and comfortable with, considering things like photographs of nudity, sexually explicit voice conversations, texts, or just suggestive flirting, compliments. Think about all those things. Here's some things that I'm comfortable with. Here's some things that I'm not comfortable with. Decide that on your own before talking to the guy so that you're not manipulated by the way that he says something, the tone, or making it seem like everybody just does this. So what, are you going to be weird and not send me nudies? Also take into account the law where you live.
Yeah.
You don't want to be busted for child pornography for having a photo of yourself naked.
Yeah. I don't think sending nudes should at all be a part of this negotiation because of the age.
Right.
And because of, we don't know this person at all. Like, that's a huge risk to take.
I don't know of a good resource to find out all of the local sex laws, but you should take them into consideration when making this list. Figure out what your boundaries are, and then ask them, all right, $400 for what exactly? Here are some things that I'm uncomfortable with. Here are some topics that I am okay with talking about.
And I think frequency of communication would be something to talk about in advance too, because it's like, if he's paying you on a weekly basis, you don't want him to think like, oh, I have access to her all the time.
And I'm not going to pay if she didn't pick up at 3 a.m.
Exactly.
when I was lonely.
Exactly. Like, as someone who is sort of selling my time and guidance and expertise to people, I have to be really mindful of what am I saying that I can give. and what are the expectations of that. And so I have a contract or an agreement that all of my clients sign that has some general principles as far as like when I'm to be paid, how I'm to be paid, no refunds because I've already given my services, you know, and I'm not responsible for the results.
As a refund would be like them giving you an hour of life advice.
Right, sure. No, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So yeah, you should decide with him not only the mechanism for payment, which I think PayPal and Venmo are two that I accept and I like and trust and have been easy for my clients to use. And so I share the poster, what was his name? Ankelbiter's concern about
that could be a
being
ploy
red
to get
flag.
you to meet up in person or something that.
Because what else would you even use?
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of money transfer services. Maybe this is a Bitcoin guy.
Yeah, don't do anything that would be where you have to give any bank information or that's traceable. I have a very embarrassing thing to admit.
Oh, good.
But probably it's not as embarrassing as you might think based on the context in which I'm bringing this up.
Okay.
So apologies for it not being as spicy as it could be.
Damn.
But when I first moved here, I was, you know, desperately looking for work and trying to figure out what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Again, it's not what you want it to be, I'm sure. But to me, it's still embarrassing. So I was looking for jobs on Craigslist, and which I actually ended up finding a great job through. So I love Craigslist. I use it a lot. I advise people to use it because there are great opportunities. You can get awesome shit for like not that much money.
Dog ear Craigslist job.
People. What?
Dog ear Craigslist job. I want to say something afterwards.
Later?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was looking for jobs, and there was a posting that was like this guy who's like an international entrepreneur looking for an assistant, yada yada. I don't remember if it was like remote or not, but it was basically. He wanted someone to kind of do different tasks for him, yada yada, and he was going to send payment in advance to accomplish some tasks, whatever. And the first thing, he wouldn't get on the phone to talk, so that was a huge red flag. But everything was typed out pretty well, like the emails were pretty well written. And he actually, I don't know if he created a LinkedIn or he gave a name that had an actual like LinkedIn and, you know, took a real person's identity to make it seem legit. But so he FedExed me a cashier's check that I would then, you know, deposit into my own account. And he was like, go buy some gifts for like some orphans for this organization I work for or something, yada yada. And so, you know, there were a few like red flags in there, but I was like holy shit, you know, the next day this check just arrives at my house, at my apartment. And I talked to some people about it. I was like, this seems like really weird, like he won't talk on the phone or meet in person. He wants like discretion, and he wants these tasks to get done immediately. And like, what are the potential repercussions of using a cashier's check? And is there a way to get the money without connecting it to my bank account? Because what people do, I found out, is what happens is when you go to deposit the money into your account, it somehow sends the sender like your bank information. And so that's how people get your information, and then they you know, can do what they will with it. And you can also get in trouble for depositing or cashing a fraudulent check. So I was super embarrassed about that because it was a total scam.
Yeah, when you sign the back of a check, you're taking responsibility for the trustworthiness of the person who wrote you the check, right?
I don't know.
That's what I believe it means, is you are vouching for them. You're saying, like, if this person ends up being not having that money.
Being a bad hombre.
Yeah, exactly. If they don't end up having the money, I will reimburse the bank for the money that I'm cashing from this check.
So be aware of that, because not everyone I don't think knows
No.
that you could. I mean, I certainly didn't know at first, and I'm like super glad I conferred with some friends on this. But you know, at the time, it was like there were elements of it that seemed legit, and I'm a very trusting person, but you know, that, which I normally think is a super admirable quality and a helpful quality, but you know, it's worth doing your research and talking to other people, and you know, posting like this, like really trying to think about all of the potential areas for harm or damage before risking your identity gets stolen, you know, your financial information to be used, and really looking into it thoroughly. And in this case, while there are many lonely people out there, and you know, sure, it sounds like quote unquote free money, which of course it's not, because it's a service, but you know, for engaging in a seemingly simple way, you can get like, you know, reimbursed. If it seems too good to be true, do your due diligence.
Yeah.
See if there's any way of kind of proving mutual trust before any sensitive information gets transmitted to this person. Like before you get into a situation where it becomes too deep to back out. And like Rob was saying, I think the idea of drawing up an agreement first, and
it's like, get your own head right about what you're comfortable with and not comfortable with, so you don't walk in there blind, and then you're more susceptible to being manipulated or just persuaded in general.
And I think that the more specificity you can have at the outset,
yeah,
you might also kind of frighten away someone who's not legit, who's not doing what they're saying they're doing. Right. You know, ask him. You could, you know, ask him for some specific details about him. Anything where set them up to where if they're not legitimate, they're not going to get back to you. They're going to like just disappear, because they know they can't provide you with X, Y, or Z without revealing that it's not real.
Right.
But yeah, I was super embarrassed about that happening, about like almost falling into this scam. I mean, and then this person had my address, yada, yada. But it's like, they're set up somewhere. They're probably not even in the US, just like FedExing people checks and, you know, recouping the costs by the people that fall for it, I suppose. And I'm sure they're running many levels of all different types of scams that then pay for, they offset those costs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was a really scary moment for me. And it was scary to think that someone who was theoretically as smart as I am could have easily taken a misstep and really fucked myself. So be careful and do your due diligence no matter what or how, if you engage with this person, or any situation like this when you're meeting someone off the internet. Fortunately, we live in a day and age where the internet provides us with wonderful things, and it can help you connect with people that are craving connection and people that are similar to you, and you can't find people like that in your sort of day-to-day real life environment. But of course, it comes with a whole host of dangers.
I want to talk about paying for friendship, or things that people generally think you're not supposed to pay for.
Yes.
Or that have stigmas attached.
Yeah.
You think that's good or bad for society, for people to be exchanging money for things that used to be free?
I think that's a great question.
Thank you.
Is friendship free? Question mark. Whatever. That's just something I want to say before I continue to say other things.
Monetarily, yes.
Well, but even then, I mean, you know, there are some people who have friendships where one person makes more and tends to pay for more things. And, you know, there is kind of a financial benefit or an experiential benefit to being friends with someone who can provide you with certain experiences, offset the cost of different things. But to get to like the question I actually think you're asking,
explicit payments. You're right. Implicitly, that happens with, you have a friend who has a really cool party house and everyone's friends with them, so that they get invited to the party house.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
People have varying degrees of comfort with that.
Yeah. I think that you should be able to kind of trade. Money is just a currency, and friendship and social interaction is also a currency. And so I do think that there is room for those things to be exchanged. But I also think that there is sort of a hidden cost for the person paying for that of do I actually feel good about paying for this?
Yeah.
Is it something that I would prefer to build organically and, be able to feel my intrinsic worth socially versus, paying for it? But I think that companionship services you find them everywhere. I mean, you find that's nursing homes, there are populations that society has deemed less worthwhile or unappealing or disgusting, and I'm not saying nursing homes are all those things, but that's an example of a place that people don't generally like to spend a lot of time. And those are people that really benefit from social interaction and variety of experience and continuing to challenge their brains and activate their neural pathways in these ways. And I don't think that should be beyond something that we pay for just because many people don't need to pay for it. And I think we're edging on talking about prostitution as well.
Sure, that's a
as paying for sex.
prime example.
And I think that the world would be a better place if we could legalize some things that are going to happen no matter what, and we risk it happening very unsafely when we ignore that it's happening or act like, oh, everybody should be able to just get that need met without paying for it. And it's like, well,
right.
I don't know about that. Like, we pay for massages, we pay for people to cook our food. We pay for people to do these very intimate things with us or for us or to us.
Yeah, it's weird that people can rub every part of your body for money except the one.
Except the one you want rubbed.
Exactly.
What the fuck is that?
That's going to make you feel a little too good. We have values, rather. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if all of our values translated into money? We value a lot of things that we think it's good for us and it's important, but you can't spend money on that or it makes it feel dirty. And it tends to be things that women do more or better than men. So I think that contributes to, what do you mean for now? Like that conditioning will change and women will do more? Yes. There, in my opinion, there's probably an inborn trend as well for people who are born female to care more about relationships and be more socially attuned, partly for their own safety, partly because of the world making them that way. Some sexual reasons, higher sexual costs. So it's like evaluating a partner is a more important thing. So just more interest in people, and the people at the extreme end of the curve for interest in gadgets and systems and very non-people things. There'll probably be more of them that are men, even in a world devoid of conditioning. We can
because
have that
of
argument.
inherent biological differences.
Yeah,
You're saying. Okay.
I think so,
I
and the differences in between the way that sex works for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to give you an opportunity to weigh in on the paying for friendship thing.
Paying for friendship?
Yeah, I wanted.
Yeah, I like the idea of making all things that have value a possible source of income for people.
Right.
Monetize it all and let the dollars speak to your values.
Yeah, and I think that like friendship and sex are both things that like we all know are like really important to us.
Yeah.
Something that we all value. And sex especially is one that I think gets shoved under the rug. Like people don't want to talk about the fact that we like sex, we need sex. It's a huge part of who we are. It's why we're even here. And yet it's something that is like, ooh, better not talk about that. Better not. Yeah. I think it creates a really unhealthy dynamic.
Can we talk about asexual people for a second?
Absolutely. We can talk about them for multiple seconds.
So I assume you're opposed to homosexuality conversion camps, right? It's not
That's
a stretch.
A safe assumption, yes.
Would you be opposed in the same way to asexuality conversion camps? It's not like trying to make a person be attracted to the opposite gender or their own or anything like that, but just getting them interested in sex in general.
I think the word conversion is kind of tough because it implies that it's like you're not good enough how you are. Let's convert you into something that's more palatable for us. But I do think,
that's
what
not how
about
they pitch it.
connection camps?
Yeah.
I mean, people who...
Physical connection boner camps, like wet pussy camp.
What I more meant was a place where people who identify this way can go to meet other people that are, you know, interested in the same thing. It's like you don't know this because you don't watch BoJack Horseman, but BoJack Horseman actually talks about asexuality.
Yeah, does he? I bet that's great.
Because, spoiler, I guess, not really.
Yeah, one of the characters.
Todd, one of the characters, is
asexual,
identifies as asexual, and he starts dating someone who's also asexual, and they have this like asexual meetup group. And they talk about how even within that smaller community, there's variation, and some people are aromantic, some people are asexual. It's like, you know, some people still want to be having romantic relationships, but them not include sexual activity. And so I think that's another thing, like I was saying about the internet, where it's like these people who have similarities, where they're in the vast minority, can connect and not feel so alone, and not feel like, oh my God, I could never find someone who, you know, checks my boxes or checks even one of my boxes that, you know, us heteronormative kind of populations and the people that are in sexual majorities can more easily find. Like, I can be so fucking choosy about who I date and relate to because I'm in the category of the norm.
Right.
And I think that's something that most of us take for granted.
Sure. Having common tastes is a privilege.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Never thought of that like that.
Yeah. So I think we adequately kind of...
I think so.
You know, broach the topic. There's the financial concerns, the logistical stuff. Safety, physical safety, legal stuff. Yeah, and some different avenues for assessing that and being honest with yourself. I mean, if you're the 17-year-old girl in this situation and you're thinking, wow, it would be really nice to have $400 a week, you could also, now that you are aware, oh, this would be an appealing thing, this would really help my life to have this extra money, you could start thinking about other ways you might want to do that if this ends up not working out. Don't get so attached to this being the only opportunity for you to make some extra money.
Good call.
Because I think that's what kind of blindsided me with my little scenario of, I was like, you know, in this kind of psychological mind state where I felt less than because I didn't have a job, I wanted a job, and I was like overlooking things in order to have one.
My Craigslist dog ear. Yes. I want to get to that real quick. My girlfriend sent me this job posting for this guy in LA who's been reading his kid Dracula stories. He wants to pay someone to jump out as Dracula in one of the scary parts of the stories in the kid's bedroom to scare them, and then do a little Q&A with this person as a vampire. He's like, I want to do one rehearsal, just you and me, and then do one with me and my son.
I can't imagine someone more perfect for that than you.
You think so? I could be a vampire?
Absolutely. Is there an element of trying to make him less scared?
No. I think he wants you to be really scary. He really wants to scare his kid.
And the kid wants this experience.
That's not clear.
I would
That's not clear.
That a little bit.
Well,
you don't want to be part of a trauma.
Yeah. The guy's wife just died, and he said that they've been reading a lot of these scary books together before bed. And this, I don't know why he gave that context, but
yeah,
you're right. It could be a bad idea. It's kind of on him then, though. I'm getting paid, you know.
Well, right. So that,
I guess there's a line. If he wants me to like pick the kid up and shake them, I'm not going to do that. Just as figure a tame example of something bad you could do to a kid. I mean, if you want to do another podcast called Bad Things Rob Could Do to Kids, I got time.
Yeah, there would be a lot of content. But
picking them up and shaking them is something that I probably wouldn't do.
I guess I just think that if you're going to participate in something on any level, you should know exactly what you're going to be getting into. What are the potential consequences? What are the implications?
Yeah.
Logistically, morally, all that shit.
You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for indulging me.
Oh my God, my pleasure. I mean, this whole thing is us sitting down to indulge each other, right?
Yeah.
We've talked before on the podcast about how the value of our friendship specifically and the value of friendship overall. And so I think that like a good perhaps sort of closing point to make is that if you are out there and you are listening to this, or you're just out there and you have no idea we're two people talking, it's important to do sort of an honest assessment of what do you want out of a friendship? How can you go out into the world and find people that are like you, and getting more out of the relationships that you choose to engage in? Because I know there's so many people that I talk to that are just not as happy as they could be in the friendships that they have, because they have friendships that are older and haven't grown with them, or people that don't have, you know, that many commonalities or interests. They end up constantly going to things only because their friends want to do it. They're not actually things that they're interested in. And they don't either believe in themselves enough to think they could attract a better quality relationship, or they don't think that that's out there. Try not to talk yourself out of it, because when you find people that are really your tribe, it's fucking magic. And I didn't have that for a long time. And it just makes such a big difference to have a network of people that make you feel warm and comfortable and accepted and challenged. And, you know, they expand you to think about things differently. And I just think that's such an important part of life. And you can't get all of that from family. You can't get all of that from just a romantic relationship, I think.
You might from family.
You might. You might.
I didn't.
Neither did I.
Most
Not
people don't,
even close.
Yeah. Maybe if you're one of those 15 sibling families, there's a ton of diversity.
There's just always somebody walking around. You're bound to have a common interest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This has been good.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next week.
This has been Free Advice with Rob Zaleski
and Morgan Beard.
Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week.
Mwah, kisses.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.